Boom. Dude, I got to tell you, man, I had an awesome weekend and
Mhm.
like Sunday night, some people kind of dread Sunday nights, and they kind of like this feeling of weight and everything kind of settles in as they like look forward to the week. I was pumped about this week, pumped about Monday in particular. This is the Build and Grow with Real Estate Show. My name is Judah
Right.
Hoover, and this guy right over here
What's
this
cooking?
is my co-host Josh Weidman, and we come to you every day at noon with the real estate information and knowledge that actually works, that actually is applicable, that isn't just some hype that some guru is hyping to. I used hype in that sentence twice. Forgive me, to sell a product or course or something like that. Josh and I have a love-hate relationship with the information business. We've made a bunch of money from it and spent a bunch of money into it. So there's nothing wrong with coaching and stuff like that, but there's also a fair amount of over-exaggeration that goes along with it sometimes. And what we do here is give people the straight dope. So Sunday night, I was very excited because things are popping off. And I got to tell you, Josh, today's show should come with a parental warning because I typically at the beginning of the show or just after the show, I am starting my third cup of coffee. I'm finishing my third cup of coffee for the day.
Holy
So
mackerel.
we are extra
Forget it.
caffeinated today. So look out.
Halfway through the program, your office is going to get raided.
Right.
All right. Well, listen, I'm sorry for the beginning of the show. I'm looking at my phone and all this. I realized I didn't share this with my Facebook family here today. Anyway, I want to welcome everybody today. Dude, I feel the same way. I feel the same way that you do. It is as far as like Sunday nights when everybody starts getting anxious. It's like, oh man, I got to go back to work tomorrow and this and that. And I have this conversation with my wife all the time. It's like, look, hon, I love you, but I think you might be doing the wrong thing. Right? Like it is what it is.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm one of these sick, twisted individuals that genuinely enjoys my job. I like what I do.
yeah. Yep, exactly. All right, so what are we talking about today? We got some cool stuff going on today. Very, very important information. And this I used to own a construction company.
Right.
And it was a very poor construction company, to be frank. I used to sell windows and siding, did really well with that when I first got out of college. And I thought that I would be a great business owner, that success in sales transitions very easily to success in business. And believe it or not, that's not the case.
No, yeah, that's basically the whole premise of the E-Myth. By the way, if you haven't read
Yeah.
the E-Myth, the whole premise is just because you're good at sales doesn't mean that you are good at business. And
Yeah.
just because you are good at making pies doesn't mean that you would be as successful at running a pie manufacturing business. Pies is the example he uses a lot, but it's both of those things.
Do you realize what we missed? We missed the E-Myth in our book lists. That's a phenomenal book. Neither one of us brought it in.
It's depressing. Dude, the first time I read the E-Myth, I'm like in my mid to late 20s, right? Late 20s. And I had been an entrepreneur at this point for 10 years. You know what I mean? Depending on how you want to count, maybe 20. So I'm like a long time entrepreneur. I have like 15 employees at the time, and I'm reading this book and I'm like, oh, I do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I do that. There has been no book other than the E-Myth that is literally I felt gut punched several times in reading that book. It was awful.
I'm gonna do one flip side of this. So I took the E-Myth to the wrong extreme. Like I spent the next 2 to 3 months of my business life after reading that book and started creating manuals to like go to the bathroom. Like insanely detailed manuals on everything.
You got too organized about something?
Relax.
You went OCD on a topic? That's interesting to me, Josh. Tell me more.
Pretty surprising. But the point being, like, I think that the truth of the best type of businesses lies somewhere between Gary V's work 24/7, grind your face into the ground and do whatever it takes, and Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, where, you know, somewhere in the middle is where things really thrive. I think the E-Myth is a great way to run a McDonald's. Not necessarily a great way if you want to have a great relationship-based business, where you are like, you have great relationships with your employees, they have a great relationship with you, and I think
so here's one of the things that I think we need to start doing, Josh. I think that we need to start. This is great that we're extemporaneously coming up with this on the air, because we've already wasted 4 minutes on this. But I think one of the things that we need to do is
get on topic.
Bullet point books.
Yeah.
Hey, here's this book. Here's the main points of it. Here's the main takeaways. Here's Josh's view on those takeaways. Here's Judah's view on those takeaways. Kind of do like a book club. And we could, you know, if it's a big book, we'd devote a show to it. If it's a if it's a smaller book, we could do 2 or 3, because we kind of talked about a book list last week. But we could dive into.
Dude, we could do that every day. We could do that 5 minutes every day. I love it, Judah. All right, we're going 35 minutes moving forward.
I don't think we could do it 5 minutes every day. First of all, I don't think some books can be fairly talked about in 5 minutes.
Will you stop? I'm being a little lighthearted. It's Monday. Come on, man. Come on. All right. So now, to get more serious now, you know, Judah is really kind of straightening me out here. We're going to jump right into content, and we will not deviate one more time from the written content that we have ready.
I want to say thanks for Stephen, and thanks for the comments, Stephen, and thanks for the Mr. Jeremy Bayshore. If you like the show, like it, share it with your friends, and we greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, that sounds like a deviation, just like my book talks. Okay, just like my book.
I was just waiting for your slides to load up.
All right. So, all right, we're talking about having a E-Myth, all that kind of stuff. Before we got diverted, I had a construction company way back when, and it was a poor one. It was a poor one for a number of reasons, but I didn't really know how to run this construction project. And, you know, it sounds pretty funny, but it's taken me a lot of time and a lot of focus, and, you know, a lot of learning to really figure out how to run a construction project well. And part of it came out of me hiring a friend of mine, almost ruining the relationship, except that he was an amazing person and I wasn't. And like very graciously walked me through and basically told me, like, look, man, these are the mistakes you're making. These are the things that continue to happen on your job sites. Here's how to fix them. It's not that hard. And so that's like my little breadcrumbs. These are my nuggets that I want to share today. Because believe it or not, construction, it is the most variable part of any investment project. Whether you are talking about, hey, I have a leaky faucet that I need somebody to run out and take care of, you know, on one of your rental properties, or you're buying something that is a total gut job and you need to build it back up from the ground floor. If you don't hire the right person, it can result in way more money, lost time, lost effort, and can turn off tenants. If you have an occupied property, Judy, you can probably attest to this, where, you know, some of the biggest problems with tenants start because you have unaddressed maintenance issues that just go on and on and on and on and on. And it's like one little tiny, you know, I don't know, one thing that drives you crazy if it happens one time turns into a huge blow up down the road, 3 months down the road or 6 months down the road, when it's like, you know, yeah, well, you never fixed my squeaky door or my air conditioner. I've been asking for this for, you know, 2 months now and it's not been addressed. Or it could just be forgotten.
Right.
And so we're going to teach you how to fix it, do it right, find the right people, and go from there. Cool. All right. Yeah. Hold on here. My mouse isn't working real well today, but there we go. Let's see what we got. The first thing that you got to do here is really define what you need, because you don't want to hire a general contractor to go out and do your maintenance calls. Right? Like that's a little silly. At the same time, you don't want to use a handyman necessarily to go and do your finished carpentry.
Right.
Big difference. No, electricians shouldn't be plumbers and vice versa. You know, so defining what you need based on the project first, what kind of project are we doing? Are we doing a cosmetic rehab? Are we doing, minor repairs on the property? Are we gutting the place? I need service calls, whatever it is.
Right, and I'm working right now with family members, and they are moving out of a property. Let's call it a $225,000 property here in central Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
and it is a 3-bed, 2 full bath property. Sits on about an acre worth of land, and the thing that we're talking to them about is the difference between doing a rehab at that property to get it to sell, or doing a rehab of that property to get it to rent.
Yeah.
And even though if you're buying and holding a property, you don't want to skimp on, mechanicals, but you can still save a lot of money if you are, rehabbing a property in order to rent it out. And just so not only what is like, now either one of them is going to be a major rehab. Either one of them is potentially going to be a gut job. But even within that, you can have variations in what your end product is going to be.
That's right. All right. So beyond that, next thing you got to look at is your budget. Because look, if you have a $30,000 budget to do a project, it's going to dictate the type of contractor you can hire, the timeline, the type of finishes you're going to have, as opposed to $100,000 to do the same work. And it's interesting. So this happens pretty frequently, where if there's a really hot property that hits the market, or a wholesaler finds a banging deal, I'll be contacted by 5 or 6 different investors about the same property to fund the project. And of course, hey, I'll fund it for whoever wins the bid. That's great. But it's interesting when I'm talking to different people, and one guy says, yeah, this is a $40,000 project. Another one says, I'm probably going to spend 120 grand. That's a huge variance there. And the reality is, in talking to them, the 40,000 probably not realistic. But the guy who says, I'm going to do this for 65,000 and has done these projects over and over and over, his number is just as legitimate as the guy who said 125, because he's done these projects over and over and over too. It's just a different type of work. It's a different, different renovations. And you know what? I get it. You got to determine going in, what's your budget going to look like within reason? And you got to put some variance in there. But beyond that, what kind of quality do you want to propose, present? What kind of time frame? Time frame's a big one too. We talked in a prior show, I think at the beginning of the summer, we were talking about construction on and how you only get 2 out of 3,
Right.
Time, quality, and price.
Right.
So
yeah, I think that factors into this with everything, because when you're looking at budget, that is going to come back into your time. Because if you are looking at doing a project, here's the rule of thumb I use. A project costs about $5,000 a week. So if it's a $20,000 rehab, hopefully you can get it done in 4 weeks. If it's a $5,000 rehab, hopefully you can get it done in a week, and you can do the math there. That's just obviously you play around with that a little bit, but that's kind of like the 1% rule. You know what I mean? It just is a good baseline to figure some stuff out with. So $5,000 a week is what a rehab should take. So when you're doing a $20,000 rehab and it's going to take you 4 or 5 weeks, okay, what does that time mean for my budget in my holding costs, and in the amount of money that I'm going to be spending with my hard money lender, and with the utilities and other things like that. So budget and time also affect each other.
Okay. So this is the question that I get more than any others. Where do you find the crews?
Right.
Right. And so if you are in any kind of sales, let's say you already do some kind of outbound marketing to motivated sellers, right? Well, you have your expensive marketing in direct mail, and maybe you have some text message marketing, and maybe you even sit down and call Craigslist, right? You're going to get different leads all over the place. The quality of those leads is not going to be the same. But that doesn't mean you don't want the leads. That doesn't mean you don't pick up the phone and call the Craigslist leads, or the for rent leads. It's unlikely they're going to end up in a deal. But if you get one a year, hey, it's worth it, right?
Right.
It's the same thing with contractors.
Right.
Right. You got to think about this as this is just another lead funnel, just like motivated sellers, just like finding capital, finding deals, finding capital, and managing construction are the three things you need to do to be a good flipper. Right. That's it.
Finding deals, finding capital, managing construction. Right.
Yep.
You either bring the deal, the money, or the work. And those are, or all of it. Yeah. So those are the three. But the point is what's funny is, people are like, they try to outsource all of that, and they try to start outsourcing all that.
Well, you can do that, but you're going to outsource your profit too.
Right.
All right. So I think about this like this. You got three basic places to look for deals, or I'm sorry, contractors. Excuse me. First one's online. These are the easiest ways to find people. They're also probably going to be the most competitive ways. So it's either more expensive or worse quality, right? But you've got Thumbtack is a good one. Thumbtack is
there's a bunch of things out there like Thumbtack. So I get Thumbtack leads, by the way, for my property management business.
Yeah.
But there's also Tackle is another one. Okay. Home Advisor is another one. There are other, Angie's List is another one. There are other companies out there like Thumbtack where you can find general handyman, general guys just looking to, do work. And here's the thing. I talk to contractors, the kind of contractor that you're looking for, that's a little bit more towards handyman than contractor. And I ask those guys all the time. I'm like, hey, Bob, do you ever try, getting Thumbtack leads? And they're like, yeah, but they're like $50 a piece. And, I didn't really get the business that I wanted. And so, I was on there and I stopped. Well, here's the beautiful thing. If in a certain population like Central PA, there's, 150 of those contractors, any 3 or 5 or 7 or 10 of them at any one time are trying out those Thumbtack leads.
Right.
So it's always possible to find those types of people on Thumbtack.
That's right. All right. Craigslist is a good one for some things. I hired an inspector just about a month ago off of Craigslist. I put an ad up there. I got about 25 responses, talked to 2 or 3 of them, and I said, hey, yeah, we'll give this guy a try. It's a good place to find
people to screen.
Thank you. Exactly right. You have to try somebody out on a small project. I mean, I'm talking like $50, $100. If they do what they say they're going to do, they show up on time, respond when you need them to, why wouldn't you use them?
Right. I've already hired people. I needed 2 movers for the day. Right. And I said, look, I'm looking to pay, $20 an hour cash to move some stuff. I need 2 people. And I was going to be there as well, doing a lot of the work, right? And so I'm just looking to pay $20 an hour. I think I can get it done, knocked out in half a day, but it might take a whole day. If you're interested, let me know. I'm going to pay $20 an hour. I told 4 people that. Guess what? 2 of them showed up.
Right.
And because I knew it would be me and 2 people for a whole day, but if all 4 of them showed up, would be able to knock it out in half a day. So I didn't say it was going to be half a day. I said I'm looking for. So I'm okay with that also being kind of how you test people out. Is you test people, and then guess what I did? Is I also talked to them about what their other skill sets are, what their other things are, and I went on to do more work with those individuals.
It's like you have the slides in front of you. It's like you have.
Oh, sorry. Am I jumping ahead?
All right. Supply houses. Judah is a big one on big box stores at 6 a.m.
I love it.
If
sometimes I don't get there until 6:30.
What's that?
Sometimes I don't get there until 6:30.
It is what it is. This often depends on the type of contractor you're using too. If you're looking for a handyman, 6 a.m. at a big box store is not the place to go. These guys are in and out of occupied properties a lot of times. And so midday, 1 o'clock, they're going to get a washer, like one washer, like you got to think about the type of person that you want to go into your property and do the kind of work that you're looking for. If you're looking for a large project, don't go there at 10 a.m. because the people that are there at 10 a.m. and checking out with, a ton of lumber, they should have been there at 6. They're going to waste the same time at your job as they did at this other job. So cut that out.
The other thing I like about going to big box stores is sometimes you can find people who are willing to pick up side work. They're the trusted individual who was sent to Lowe's or Home Depot, whoever wants to sponsor our show. They were the ones who were sent there to pick up XYZ for that day's.
They're probably not. They're probably not a time waster, is what you're saying.
They're not They're not a time waster. They're probably not the best, but they're also probably not the worst. Yep. And they're also probably somebody who, if they're working on a crew, but maybe they're willing to pick up some side work, and you can just talk to them about it. And here's the other thing with all of these things. Like Josh said, these are like leads. You're going to need to talk to 2 or 3 or 4 people to find the one you want to give a shot to. And you might work with 2 or 3 or 4 people. You might work with 2 or 3 or 4 people before you find somebody who you want to give more work to. That's okay.
And remember, this is time well invested. This is like putting money in the bank, because if you have a good contractor that's going to call you when there's a problem, give you offer solutions to that problem, and talk money with you right up front in very blunt, clean language, that's huge. Those 3 things are big separators. All right. So after you're talking about big box stores, you've got local supply houses, especially specialty places. If you're looking for an electrician or a plumber, the big box stores are great, but you go down to, Joe's Plumbing Supply, the costs are a little bit higher, but they also have that, I don't know, 30-degree angle, geez, I'm really screwing that up. Whatever. They've got some specialty stuff there that, only people in the industry are going to go there and buy there. And it's a good outlet. Ask them who the best person, they know for a certain job, whatever. Then you got referrals and recommendations. Friends and family are probably, unless they're in the business, they're probably going to be more expensive. They're going to be more retail. And that might be what you want. Depending on the type of project you're looking for, that's at least a foot in the door.
Another way to get friends and family, hopefully we hear on these different Facebook groups that our show is being broadcast across is a way to do that. Yeah. So I run the Central PA Real Estate Investors Facebook group.
Yep.
And we've got about 2,500 members in there. And one of the things that people talk about blinker fluid. One of the things that we talk about all the time in there is I delete contractors when they're posting, basically commercials and ads in the group, but I do let people ask for what type of contractors or who they use for contractors, and that could be a great place to do that. April Crossley, who runs the Berks County group, she keeps a list of contractors that she works with. I've never wanted to put the time, effort, and energy into that. And I also never wanted to piss people off by them not being on my list and also have the liability of recommending people. So there's a whole bunch of reasons I don't keep and publish an actual list of contractors. However, Facebook groups, if you're active in them, can be just a phenomenal source for these things.
If you're a contractor, I want to point something out to you here. Judah does not keep a list of contractors, even people that he's used personally on projects. Judah's a smart guy. He's on top of it. Most people do exactly what Judah does, myself included to some extent, right? So if you are that contractor and you're not staying in front of your client base, they're going to just go somewhere else. They forget you, and it's nothing personal. It's just It is what it is. I mean, I have the same thing happens to hard money bankers all the time. We get tons of calls every day, but I try to touch base with all of our clients at least once a month, reach out to them, because if you don't, people forget you. It's not nothing personal. It just happens. So stay in front of your client base. Anyway. All right. So once you've got this big pile of leads, what do you do with them? Now we're going to screen them. The first thing that you do is get some basics. what current projects are you working on? What are you doing there? What are some of your prior projects? And what are you best at? That is a key question to ask people, because if they don't have a straight answer for you, what they're going to tell you is, "Oh, I can do everything." That means they can't do anything,
Right.
right? Like that's a big one. Um, Ask for referrals and job site, and like go and do job site investigations. Oh, we're working at 123 Main Street. Oh, great! I'm right around the corner. I'll be there in a half hour. What? I mean, and spend a day, just go visiting job sites, see what kind of work, see what kind of condition the sites are in. If there's trash everywhere and it's not demo day, what's that about?
Right.
You
Now
know?
you're not doing these on a bunch of different there's a bunch of contractors that you wouldn't do this for. This is when you're looking to hire somebody to do a 20,000+ rehab. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Don't spend a whole lot of time wasting a whole bunch of time, effort, energy on somebody who you're calling in to, rewire a panel box, or, if they're going to be spending a day at your job site, just, it is what it is.
Right, right. Last but not least, this is often overlooked. Look for vendor contacts. Ask them for a contact that, for one of their supply houses. Oh, well, call Joe from ABC Lumber or whatever. Okay, great. If they don't have a
It's actually really
response,
good.
right? Because it's insightful. It's like, look, we have accounts here. We do business here
Right.
and here. I mean, people get into, yeah, there's always Home Depot and Lowe's, but you always have to go to a specialty store. And if they don't have somebody off the top of the head that they can rattle off, that might be a red flag. It might not, but depending on the type of contractor. So now you went from 100 potential contractors down to 20, or let's say 10 down to 5. Now we're going to follow up and dig deeper. We're going to call those references. You're going to visit the past projects, right? They told you, here's where I've worked, here's what I've been doing over the last year. And then meet at one of their current job sites and talk to the workers there. On more than one occasion, I've had a subcontractor that has shown me pictures. They will tell me, "Oh yeah, we did this huge project and renovated this house." Come to find out, they did the railings and get fired halfway through the project, but they got awesome photos.
Right. Here's the other thing that you have to do when you're doing this follow up and digging deeper is you have to think like a police officer or a private detective or whatever. You've got to be able to say, wait, you pulled up in a Ford Focus. It's a great car, and I love it for the gas efficiency and everything like that. But how are you pulling your tools around? What are you what are you
Right.
what are you doing? How are you, what are you doing here? Hey, I noticed that you always bill yourself as Bob's Plumbing, but the last 3 times I've seen you, you're wearing an ABC Plumbing shirt or you're pulling up in an ABC Plumbing vehicle. So I get that you're doing side work. Are you allowed to take on side work, or are you not allowed to take on side work? How does your company feel about that? Just tell me a little bit more and see what they say. If they're like, well, yeah, I'm not really supposed to be doing side work. It's why I want to get this done in the nights and weekends. Well,
Right.
okay, maybe you like that, maybe you don't like that. Well, are you going to use the company van or your van, or what? How does this work? And the only way you learn a lot of this stuff is by doing it, but especially early on. If you get a little tickle in the back of your brain, ask the question.
That's right.
If you think, and ask it friendly and ask it open-minded, and don't, come across like you're trying to, hammer them with something, because even if it's something they should be hammered on, if you ask it friendly and open-ended, you're going to get a whole lot more. Yeah. Jonna brings up a question, a good point here. Hey,
Oh,
tell me about, yeah, we both clicked on that. Tell me about your insurance. And then you call the insurance company.
yeah, that's
And
right.
when Josh answers the phone, you say, "Hey, Josh, thanks for taking my call. I'm looking at I'm looking at hiring Jonna Green to be a contractor. She gave me policy number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that policy still in effect?
Yeah.
Is that policy? Is that workman's comp
Who,
policy
who is this
currently paid
person?
up to date?"
Who is this?
Right, exactly. So
Yana, who?
you
Yeah.
you just want to follow up with the insurer and just verify that the policy is still in effect, because if they're giving you a rider to a policy that they know is not in effect anymore, that's problems.
So your final screening, and again, this is for larger ticket items. This is for a larger renovation. If you are handing them a check or giving them any type of payment to start a job and sign a contract with them, do a criminal and public record search on them, for crying out loud. Like, that's a big one. I have not done that in the past, and it's come back to bite me. Make sure before you give them a deposit on the project, say, look, we're going to sign the contract on Tuesday. It's Friday. I just want to let you know I'm going to do a criminal and public record search. This is my final step, and then we can move forward and everything's great. You're all right with that? Yeah. Okay. And you do the search. Not a big deal. You don't, I would, unless they have a very common name, I wouldn't require a bunch of information from them. Just get an idea of where they live. And you can pull a criminal background check and things like that without a social security number. You don't really want to get that info from them,
right?
But just get the basics. And if something comes up and their name's John Smith, and there's 5 pages of judgments and problems, talk to them about it. And that's not me. That guy.
Yeah, Jeremy brings up a good point here. He says that they don't even take deposits anymore. We're already a minute and a half over time. But I got to tell you, we could spend a whole day talking about the pros and cons of asking for deposits if you are a service provider, and paying deposits if you are somebody. By and large, I just want to say I do not. Judah Hoover does not pay deposits to contractors. That's not something I do.
That's okay. We have a little bit of a contention there. However, I get it.
Right.
I totally get it. All right. Let's go hiring the contract. We got 2 more. I'll be short-winded here. All right. Hiring the right contractor, you have to define your scope of work first. Before you hire them, you need to be able to say, this is the work that's being done. Here are the stages that are involved with the project. Here's who is paying for the materials. Here are the type of materials that I'm selecting for the job, or here's my budget for materials in this specific instance, right? You're writing it as the guy or girl hiring. That's it. Next, you need a contract that's going to include the terms of service. Like, we're going to start on Tuesday and we're going to complete in 1 month from now. I don't expect you to be drunk or high on the job. None of your subcontractors can be drinking or, no obscenities on the job site. Don't harass the neighbors. Basic stuff that you think is normal human behavior, but you have to articulate it to your vendors, right? Incentives and penalties, always put this in there. If you finish 5 or more days early, I will give you a check for X amount of dollars. If you are 5 or more days late, you will be penalized X amount of dollars a day. That's it.
Per day penalty. And you can figure out really easily what that is based on what your holding costs are per day, based on taxes, insurance, utilities, and cost of money.
By the way, be realistic. If they say it's going to take them 20 days to do the project, think 30, put 30 in the contract, and at 35 they start getting penalized.
Right.
Something like that. Last thing on the contract that has to be there: the costs and distribution of funds. You ought to have a draw schedule based on completed work.
When and how much additional payments to be made there, Josh? When?
Great.
WEN.
That's the guy that does the oversight on the project. Oh my gosh, typos galore. What do you expect from me? Anyway, all right. Distribution of funds. If you're making a deposit, you have to clearly articulate, I'm making this deposit so that X, Y, and Z can be purchased and be on site on this date. In addition to that, do not give them more than 1 week's worth of expenses up front on a project, especially a big one. Don't ask me how I know that.
Right.
You should be very detailed about how or when and how much the additional payments are to be made. And when I say when, I'm talking about specifically when this is complete.
Right. When this is done, then I will get you paid. Not we'll pay you on Friday or Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever. But once this is installed and the paint has dried, we will do XYZ.
Not percentages of completion, because that's something to argue about. Correct. All right. Management and oversight, very quickly, start with a plan. Your scope of work, your phases of construction, timelines, and responsibilities. I have to get this material to the job site on this date. You have to do this, right? Very clear. You're spending time to put this plan together. It's not going to take 5 minutes to put together. So follow it. When you put the stinking plan together, it's there for a purpose. Follow the plan. Don't deviate from it. But you're going to review it and adjust it periodically, like once a week. Hey, I thought we'd be here today, but we're actually here. Does that mean we need more workers on site? Does that mean I didn't have the material here on time? Did it rain? Did something happen to throw me off schedule? If we're ahead of the game, that's great. What can I do to continue this moving forward? But your plan is something that, it's a perfect best case scenario with some contingencies. As things change, you adjust. You bob and weave, you move forward. Like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Great.
Right.
And that's going to happen. But you got to stick to the plan as best you can. It's your guide. Very important notes. This is huge. If you're not accountable, you cannot hold your team accountable. So be accountable. Be consistent. Apply your rules and regulations consistently across the board. It's like training a child. You're training a contractor. You're training an employee. You're training, whatever. Follow the plan and don't get emotional. If something bad goes wrong, think of a solution. Deal with who caused it after you have the solution.
Take the panic out. I have a billionaire friend, and he has 4 mantras that he lives his life by. And one of them is take the panic out. So, you don't make decisions from a position of panic. You don't panic as you're making decisions.
Dude, is that a teaser for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Tomorrow on the Build and Grow with Real Estate show, we're going to share the other 3 mantras of.
No, we could. I mean, we could. My billionaire friend has a number of really good things. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, we went a little bit long today because we tried to pack way too much content in, but that is what we usually try to do. We tried not to just be all fluff. We tried to give real practical information. If you are interested in that slide deck, Josh's telephone number is on the screen right there. Give him a call. We are going to have a guest tomorrow, and we've got some great content lined up for the rest of the week. You absolutely want to be here. We're going to be talking about creative financing tomorrow and doing deals ways that a lot of people just don't think to and don't know how to do deals, and ways that you can, if you're getting 10 leads right now, and that's resulting in 1 or 2 deals for you, how you can find new ways and more ways of doing deals so that those 10 leads can actually be 3 or 4 deals for you, because there's ways to skin a cat that you haven't ever thought of or looked at before. And that's what we're going to be talking about.
Awesome. Great day to get. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow right here at noon. Until then, go out and make some money. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.